This woman is 45-year-old Joseph Wolfthal, an upcoming children's book author who wrote the children's picture book called A Real Friend, which was published in 2020 and generally well received by many readers. The book depicts two best friends who navigate many different conflicts together that threaten their friendship. Usually, authors of children's books are driven by a passion for children, whether it be their desire to inspire, educate, or entertain kids. However, it would turn out that her real-life actions would be far darker than the pages she wrote. So what happened? What went wrong for Joseph Wolfthal? It all started when a woman named Joseph Wolfthal was born on December the 20th of 1979 in South Florida. She grew up with a knack for creativity, whether it was drawing or dancing and even playing teacher with her stuffed animals. Jennifer always had creative ideas and a great imagination. She went on to earn a degree in elementary education from the University of Central Florida and spent 8 years teaching 4th grade, inspiring kids to love writing through picture books. Now let's take a look at her author's page on Amazon. Joseph Wolfthal grew up in sunny South Florida, United States. As a child, you would find her immersed in anything creative, drawing, dancing, and playing teacher with her stuffed animal students. This passion for teaching and creativity followed her into her adult years, as she graduated from the University of Central Florida with a BA degree in elementary education. For the next 8 years, Jennifer taught 4th grade in public school. During those years, she enjoyed instilling a love for writing in her students and found picture books to be a beautiful medium to accomplish this goal. She continued her teaching journey through homeschooling her own children. Currently, she resides in Central Florida with her husband Joseph and their 3 children. As the profile states, Jennifer got married to her husband, 43-year-old Joseph Wolfthal, who worked as an engineer at Lockheed Martin, a global aerospace defense and security company headquartered in Bethesda, Maryland, USA. In 2014, her and her husband adopted 3 siblings, a boy and 2 girls, which at the time were aged 2, 3, and 5. Despite being a passionate school teacher for many years, Jennifer decided to resign from her job and continue through homeschooling her newly adopted kids, painting the picture of a devoted mum. In 2020, she published her first book, A Real Friend, which was about 2 boys called Benny and Max who got into an argument, and as a result, Benny tried to build his own robot friend, but eventually the 2 boys became good friends again. This was described as a good book about resolving differences and having a real friendship. Jennifer was in the process of writing a second book, but after the horrifying details of her deeds came to light, she wouldn't get to finish the book. Since the kids were being homeschooled by a passionate children's author and teacher, nobody knew how the kids would be treated, or even suspected anything off. To the outside world, they must have been raised with the utmost care, but in reality, every day of their life was a nightmare that went unnoticed for many years. For starters, the kids were given a meager diet consisting of cereal, namely bran flakes mixed with vegetable puree and water. And sometimes they wouldn't get their first meal until 3 p.m. Sometimes they wouldn't get a meal at all. Either way, they were clearly not getting their daily required nutrition. To make matters worse, this mixture was so revolting that sometimes the kids would just not be able to eat it, which would result in either physical abuse or a physical exercise punishment, where the kids were forced to exercise till complete exhaustion. They would also be punished for any other little thing the parents deemed as sin, which led to them being severely punished every single day, with Jennifer also quoting that the children are sinners and can't stop sinning. The kids also endured major psychological torment, with each of them being forced to write thousands of pages of lines, saying, "My body stays flat on the bed at all times. I was never given permission to move or say anything." Jennifer would then check their work, ensuring that they wrote a certain amount of lines each day, while telling the kids their sins caused these punishments, making them feel utterly worthless. Jennifer and Joseph also enjoyed physically abusing the kids using a fabric-covered object, which they referred to as the whacker, to beat them. The exact details of the object is unknown other than this. The fabric covering the object was supposed to stop it from leaving marks on their bodies. But this wouldn't work as they would strike the kids multiple times in the same area, causing them to bleed while leaving all their open wounds untreated. One of the kids asked if they could have some bandages for their wounds, which led to them getting angry and beating them even more. As if this wasn't enough, the parents would take this torture even further, only allowing the children to use the bathroom at certain times, sometimes twice a day, and sometimes not at all. Instead, they would all be forced into wearing diapers, even though they were well past the age of needing one at this point in time. With no other choice, they would just use the diapers out of fear they would be punished for asking to use the bathroom. They were also denied basic hygiene and weren't allowed to bathe or shower for months, and their clothes were often soiled. They also wouldn't hear their parents showering for extremely long periods either. One of the most sadistic punishments was the use of cold water. While the kids were fast asleep, they would have freezing cold water poured over them as a form of discipline, shocking the kids while they were sleeping and leaving them shivering in the cold, not able to fall asleep again. The kids slept on thin mattresses on the floor with no pillow and just a single sheet, which was often soiled because they were too scared to ask if they could use the bathroom. And while having the water poured on them, they weren't even allowed to clean it or move. They were still required to lay flat on their bed and not move or speak without permission. Afterwards, Jennifer would have big loud fans on to make them even colder, and so they couldn't whisper to each other at night due to the loud sounds. One of the daughters didn't even notice how much time had passed and was forced to count the months in her head. Throughout this whole time, the kids wouldn't see any daylight, let alone another person for many years. The punishments were so brutal that the kids got to the point they wouldn't even dare leave their rooms and move around the house, if they even could, because most of the time their bedrooms were locked with locks installed on the outside of the doors, turning them into dark prison cells where the kids were completely isolated and not even able to socialize amongst each other. They would just suffer in solitude while dreading the fact that their parents may enter their room at any moment and inflict more suffering on them. The kids endured for many years until January the 1st of 2021. The children were now aged 8, 9 and 11. Throughout this period, the children were all denied medical care despite having many open wounds and infections, solely out of the fear they would get caught. On New Year's Day of 2021, the youngest daughter of 8 years old became unresponsive. Jennifer and Joseph decided they had no choice but to take the girl to the hospital. Joseph took her to the Advent Health Hospital in Winter Park, Florida. Upon a single glance and quick examination, the doctors realized this was more than a standard urgent care visit. She was immediately transported to an intensive care department and placed on a ventilator in critical condition. As the doctors examined her more thoroughly, they found a litany of horrors. She had kidney failure and liver failure, sepsis, a staph infection, pneumonia in both lungs, infected sores on her legs that had ruptured, a chipped tooth, 2 black eyes, a lacerated lip, and bruises all across her body. In addition to this, she weighed a mere 40 pounds, which is severely malnourished for an 8-year-old. And this was the result of years of systematic abuse that all the 3 children endured. Given the severity of the girl's condition, the doctors alerted the Seminole County Sheriff's Office and asked for the police to come check on the situation. Upon arriving, the cops questioned Joseph, asking for a detailed explanation of the events that led to this girl's hospitalization. Joseph claimed her teeth were chipped due to brushing her teeth too hard, and her other injuries were from falling due to vertigo. The police quickly dismissed these claims by officially stating, due to the height and weight of the girl, it is not likely the swollen bruise on the back of her head and the laceration on her lip and broken tooth were caused by off-balance falls. After concluding this, the police placed Joseph under arrest and decided to perform a welfare check to see how the other 2 kids were doing. They quickly arrived and found the other boy aged 9 and girl aged 11 in similar condition to the first girl, extremely malnourished, bruised and neglected in locked bedrooms. And so Jennifer was then arrested for aggravated child abuse, neglect with bodily harm, and domestic violence battery. Upon questioning her, she stuck with the same story as Joseph, that the child's injuries were due to slips and falls, and her chipped tooth was from brushing her teeth. Then realizing it was too late, Joseph then tried to save himself, claiming that he was afraid of Jennifer, saying she punched him in the chest and knocked him down when he tried to intervene in her discipline, and once locked him in a laundry room as timeout. He positioned himself as less involved, stating Jennifer was the primary caregiver and disciplinarian. As the police conducted a thorough examination of the house, they found more evidence against the parents, which aligned with the kids' statements. Just in the trash alone was over 1,100 pages of the same phrases the kids wrote as punishment. The bedroom doors had locks installed from the outside. They also noted a strong smell of ammonia in the house, which indicates a lot of urine from bedwetting. Jennifer tried to claim it was because the house had just been cleaned, but once again the police weren't falling for it. As Jennifer and Joseph both had good careers and shared a passion for childcare, members of the community and people who read her book were completely horrified of how they treated these children. Both of them then had false imprisonment added to their list of charges. The 8-year-old girl spent at least 4 to 6 weeks in ICU as she steadily recovered. The other two also spent some time in the hospital. By mid-2021, all the kids were thriving in a new guardian's care. Joseph's arrest details stated that the police wished for him to not have any contact with his wife and kids if he happened to be released. After the news spread, Jennifer's writing career was over as quickly as it began, with her having to shut down all her social media, and any platforms selling her books were filled with negative reviews, telling everyone to not buy her book. The publisher of the book, Clavis Publishing, addressed the situation with a statement about the whole ordeal, stating, "We were made aware of horrific news regarding one-time Clavis author Joseph Wolfthal's arrest, and strongly condemn child abuse, abandonment and neglect, today and always. The judge in court made it aware that they could be spending upward of 100 years in prison if the children testified. The case went on for 4 years, but in 2025 finally concluded, as both of them decided to take a plea deal instead, pleading guilty for a much more lenient sentence. During the whole time, the two of them had nothing more to say other than pleading guilty. Luckily, the prosecutor said the kids were living with another family now and had no contact with their parents. Joseph was then sentenced to 10 years in prison, with Jennifer being the lead instigator sentenced to 12 years, with both of them having 10 years of probation each. None of their attorneys released a statement on the outcome, but the state attorney's office said, "This plea and sentencing agreement ensures that the Wolfthals will spend significant time in prison, while it protects the already traumatized victims from the stress of having to testify." The judge then said, the state attorney's office made sure law enforcement and the children's new guardian supported this sentence before it agreed to it. The children's new family were just eager to move past this horrible incident and begin a new pleasant chapter for the children's lives. The kids are now said to be thriving in their new environment, but their torment will never be forgotten. Jennifer's book is still listed on Amazon, but it has been removed from sale. However, many libraries around the US still have the book available to purchase, most likely because they haven't been made aware of the supposed wholesome author's heinous actions behind the scenes. Jennifer and Joseph called it discipline, but never did provide a reason as to why they adopted the children and did any of this in the first place. But, based on the events, it's likely she was obsessed with control, especially over children. The Wolfthal case is a stark reminder that evil can hide behind the facade of a perfect family, but we have the ability to make a difference. If you ever suspect child abuse, call the Child Abuse Helpline and report it. You could save a life. If you have any scary stories to share, you can send them over to storiesofdespairbusiness@gmail.com. But if you want to see the full detailed story about an innocent boy who became a mass murdering psychopathic incel, you're gonna wanna watch this video. Just trust me, you ain't seen a video like this. Just click the thumbnail on screen to watch this video now. and I'll see you over in the next one.